It's great that you can join us today in Little St Mary's in Cambridge, and I'm here with Sam and Kat, and we're going to be exploring a little bit about what Christmas means to them. So Sam, when you were younger, what did Christmas mean to you?
I think like most children, Christmas meant lots of presents, but of course most importantly Christmas time meant spending time with family, and that was always the most important thing in our house.
And Kat, what about you? Do you have fond memories of Christmases growing up?
I have quite a big family. I'm one of 6 siblings, so Christmas for us was scraping together as many chairs to fit round the big dining table, and literally squeezing as many people around that table as possible and sharing dinner together and laughing and joking, and my dad always doing the jokes from the Christmas crackers, that kind of thing.
Life can be so busy and stressful, and is there something about Christmas and Christmas celebrations that connect you to something more meaningful than that stress?
I think there's something about every character that we hear about in the Christmas story has taken a leap of faith. Why? I think that's because they sense the presence of God in their lives, compelling them to do something crazy. You know, Mary, a young girl, accepted God into her life, held the child in her womb for 9 months and then gave birth to him in a stable. Not only that, but she then moved on a journey to Bethlehem. The kings travelled hundreds, thousands of miles possibly to meet Jesus in the stable. The shepherds did the same. They took a leap of faith because they felt the presence of God in their lives. And that would be my kind of advice to anybody this Christmas. You know, if you feel compelled to go to church, go, because there you will meet the presence of God. In the stable, but in the other people you meet there as well.
And what would you say to people who would say that Christmas is just full of stress and it's their least favourite time of the year?
I would say I agree. It is full of stress, and it is the least favourite time of the year for many people, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Why?
Of course, you know, we want it to be that way in many ways, I guess, because we want to do those things with our family, and we want those things to be special and important. But actually, at the heart of what Christmas is about is Christ. It's the coming of Christ into the world. And that is a massively stilling moment in time. 2,000 years ago, it brought the world to a standstill. And 2,000 years on, I believe it can do the same.
And Kat, what about you? Have you had any moments where the meaning of Christmas has taken on a different angle or something has struck you?
I think one of my most favourite memories of a Christmas is when my godmother took me to a carol service at a local church. And like most carol services, it was candlelit, and the atmosphere was kind of thick with anticipation. And like in most carol services, you'll get a solo of a young boy at the back of the church in complete darkness singing Once in Royal David City. And it's that moment where I think the words for me really sunk in, that I was able to let the kind of busyness of what we'd been doing and what we'd been preparing for go away, and to actually participate in what was happening there and then in that service.
Is there anything that you can think of that we can practice that puts the real meaning of Christmas into action?
I'm always a fond believer in random acts of kindness. This can be really simple things, from knocking on your neighbour's door and saying hello, inviting them over for a cup of tea or a meal, to bringing chocolates into your workplace, to just leaving random encouraging notes in places for people to see and to find, just to bring a little bit of hope and spread a little bit of joy.
And I guess, of course, if you know somebody's alone at Christmas, why not invite them over for dinner?
Kat, I know you've been involved in helping in churches around Christmas time. Is there anything that you've seen or been part of that particularly resonates with you about the Christian message?
When I was working for the North London Pastoral Assistance Scheme, we helped to run a winter night shelter, and I've also been part of the Cambridge Church's homelessness project here too. It's a really rewarding thing to do. It doesn't take much time or energy, but it really helps us to break down the barriers of homelessness. It really helps us to understand real life people rather than seeing it as something that we can't quite connect with.
Often we think of Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus as being the perfect family, having all the lovely things out there and having this wonderful start with the angels and the perfectly behaved animals in the background. Is there any group in society or anything that you would want to highlight at Christmas time this year in particular?
I would absolutely start by saying fundamental to the Christmas story is that the Holy Family were refugees. They were travelling because they had no choice. And they settled where they had to settle in order for Mary to give birth to the baby Jesus. And I think, if anything, at Christmas, it can draw us into that narrative that there are people who are fleeing around the world who won't get to spend Christmas somewhere comfortable, somewhere warm and dry, where they'll have food or Christmas decorations. And it can draw us into that. And I think it's a good opportunity to think about those people, to pray for them, and to help in any way we can for anybody who might be seeking refuge.
There's a wonderful scheme in London where they encourage clergy and other people as well to donate their spare room to someone who is in need because they're a refugee. And I participated in this and had a lady live with me for about 9 months, including Christmas. And I have to say, it was her experience of Christmas that made my Christmas come alive again. Often when you've been going to church for years, it can just be the same old routine, but it was her questions about why do you have a Christmas tree and what is this food about, and her bringing of her experience of festivals and what they do in winter and their festivals into my home and sharing it with my family as well, that made it come alive. And there's something about the story of Mary and Joseph, in particular, them going and knocking on the doors of the inns saying, is there any room? And the door after door being closed. I think it's the heart of the Christian message and the heart of the Christmas message, that we're called to open our homes where we can to those who are in need. And it's definitely, I found it immensely rewarding.
It reminds you a bit of the Christmas Carol, doesn't it? That sort of hard-heartedness right until the end, when really the Christmas message comes to life.
Yeah, and that I think that in the Christmas Carol, that's the only moment when you see real joy, is that moment of generosity and the opportunity to give. I think is the moment where the Christmas message becomes most alive. So a lot of people are not used to going to church, and they may find Christmas is the only time of year that they go, or it's the time of year that they start going. What would you say to people who are nervous about going to a Christmas service because they might not know what to do, or they might feel a little bit a fish out of water?
Christmas is one of the best times to go to church. The songs will be familiar. The carols that we sing will have been things that you would have heard in your youth or through walking around town listening to carol singers. You can find the services at a local church on a website called A Church Near You. It's really helpful. Any church will be happy to welcome you to any of their services that they have going on.
And the good news, of course, is that there'll be lots of people who have never been to church before on Christmas Day. So you're not going to be alone in not knowing what you're doing. Midnight Mass or a midnight communion service is always full of people who've never been to church before. And hopefully most churches will guide your way through the service.
Well, I hope that's been an interesting introduction to Christmas for you. If you would like to see a bit more and go along to a church service or indeed a cathedral, you can find all the details of their services on achurchnearyou.com. But for now, from me and Sam and Kat and all of us at the Diocese of Ely, may I wish you a very happy Christmas, and may you find your own Christmas miracles.